So you've had your body scan performed on the InBody 570 machine, and hopefully you have your sheet in front of you, and I'll give you a quick explanation as to what each of the segments on the sheet means. So from the top, you can see you have the body water, protein, minerals, and body fat mass. Just below each of your values, in the brackets, we'll have a guideline. That's like a range that you should be between, based upon your age and gender. So as long as you're within those guidelines, that's what we're looking for. With body water may be slightly higher. If you are carrying lots of muscle mass, muscle holds lots of water, so your total body water may exceed the range there. As with protein, if you're quite muscular, there's a good chance that you'll have more protein in your range, so you might be slightly higher than what your range suggests. Minerals is just how much mineral content your body has with regards to soft lean mass and bone mass minerals. And lastly, you have your body fat mass. Now, ideally, you'd like to see your score within the range or even below. The next part down is the muscle and fat analysis. So the very first line shows your body weight. The second line down shows skeletal muscle mass. Now, there are three types of muscle in the body. One of those is skeletal muscle. This simply means the muscle that attaches to your bones. And the reason that's important is that we can change this type of muscle through our diet and our appropriate training. Lastly, we have the body fat mass. Now you may see the normal range. That's a suggestive normal range based upon your BMI, which we'll come to shortly. Now a good way to interpret this section of muscle and fat analysis is to look at the three lines and see what shape letter your lines make. Now ideally, we'd like to see a slight D shape. So this indicates someone's carrying lots of skeletal muscle. On the other hand is someone who's in a slight C shape, which suggests less muscle than body fat. And the final letter that may come up is an I, which is uniform, someone that may not train at all, who has an even amount across the board straight down the center in a straight line. Now where this is important is if you focus across the right hand side where you find your InBody score, where it gives you a score based out of 100 points. Now it's not necessarily out of 100, it's actually an accumulation. Now, taking a step back to your muscle and fat analysis, if you were to score 100 in your weight, skeletal muscle mass, and body fat mass in an I shape, your InBody score would be 82. So if you were more muscular and had less body fat, your score would increase. And opposite of that, if you're lacking skeletal muscle mass and your body fat is too high, then your InBody score would drop. Now, there can come a point where you have too low body fat, in which case if your body fat is too low, you might find that your InBody score may tend to drop. So this is commonly seen in female figure athletes who are trying to get rid of as much body fat as they possibly can, and even some bodybuilders who have extremely low body fat. This may reduce their InBody score. The next one down is your obesity analysis. Now it has listed the BMI and your percentage of body fat. So BMI, ideally we'd like to be between 18.5 to 25 kilograms per meter squared. Now that's only a guideline. BMI, some people like BMI and others don't. Basically, if you lift weights and you gain muscle through your training period, your BMI is going to be high. So you can take that BMI with a grain of salt. Next part is your percent body fat. So for females, ideally we'd like to see you between 18 to 28% and males 10 to 20%. Based upon the American College of Sports Medicine guidelines. The next component down is your segmental lean analysis. So let's just look at the right arm for the time being. The top number indicates how much muscle mass you have on your right arm from your wrist to your shoulder. So that's how many kilograms you have. The second number, the bigger number of the two, this is a percentage. So ideally you'd like to see at least that graph to be about 100%. That indicates you have good muscle mass based upon your shape, size, and your current weight. So with this, we can compare your left arm to right arm. You can look at the trunk level and also your right leg to left leg. And this is where we can find any imbalances, either through training imbalances, or maybe your sport might be one-sided dominant, which may lead to a slight increase or decrease of muscle mass, or you may have a neurological injury or a neurological concern, and that may be impacting how much muscle mass you can develop. Next one down, we have body water analysis. So we'd ideally like to be between 3.6 to 3.9 on the extracellular water ratio level. Anything above that could suggest swelling. So during pregnancy, there's more water held and the score will increase, but hopefully your number does appear in that in the 0.36 to 0.39 range. So up to the top right side, we've discussed the in-body score. The next part down is your weight control. Now this is just a suggestive guide to bring you back to the BMI, to bring your BMI back to an acceptable range, and also to bring you back to a better D shape. So take it as a suggestive, but also take into account your sport and your needs. So that's just a guideline as to how much fat you need to lose or gain, or muscle that you may need to lose or gain. So next we come down to obesity evaluation, and this just places ticks in the box whether you are in a normal, under or over range for BMI and your percent body fat. The next one down is your body balance evaluation. So looking back across at your segmental lean analysis, if you're within 6 for your right and left arm and right and left leg, you're considered to be balanced. Now that's 6% we're talking about on the bigger number. Then it looks at your body percentage-wise, if your upper body and lower body is balanced. So this is commonly seen in male bodybuilders especially, or male guys who train a fair bit and neglect the legs. You may find that the arms exceed the legs. So they'll have good trunk mass as well from doing the bench pressing and chin-ups, etc. But the balance of arms to legs sometimes is not there, and that's where you may find a tick in the unbalanced or slightly unbalanced section. Next down we have the segmental fat analysis. So it tells you how much fat is in each segment of your body there. So you have the arms, the trunk, and the legs. You see the little line that's creeping out to the right-hand side. Ideally, we'd like to see this line in the center range between the arrows. The next part down in the additional data, you have your intracellular water, which simply means water within the cells. Extracellular water is water that's outside the cells. And for both of those, you just simply want to be within the ranges suggested to the right-hand side. Next down is your basal metabolic rate. This simply means how many calories your body needs to maintain life. So if you were to sit down on the couch for 24 hours and not move at all, that's how many calories your body needs to sustain life. So to keep your heart beating, to maintain breathing, to maintain digestion, body temperature, etc. So the body generally will get that from your fat stores. So not to say you have to eat that many calories per day, but that's how many calories your body requires to keep you alive. Next one down is your waist to hip ratio. So the scanner has analysed where your waist and hip measurements are, divided the two together, and you'd like to be within that range suggested on the right-hand side. So for males, it's 0.8 to 0.9, and females 0.75 to 0.85. Next one down is really important, the visceral fat level. So there are 3 different types of fat in the body. When you're having a skin fold test done, that's measuring what's called subcutaneous fat, which is fat beneath the skin basically. What visceral fat is, this is the fat that surrounds your internal organs. Now if you have an increased level of visceral fat, this is generally associated with some health problems such as cardiovascular disease, type 2 diabetes, and an increase in blood pressure. And this is the harder fat to lose. It still is possible through appropriate aerobic training and watching your diet, but it is harder to lose than the subcutaneous fat. So let's say, for example, you have a 7 as your score. If you add a 0 to that, that means you have roughly 70 centimeters squared of visceral fat in your body. It's actually going to be 70 to 79 centimeters, so it's in the ballpark of that range. So for example, if you had a 4 for your visceral fat, that means somewhere between 40 to 49 centimeters squared of visceral fat is what you have. Now ideally, we'd like to see you between 1 to 9. Obviously, the lower the better. Next number down is your bone mineral content, which is related to your bone density. Ideally, we'd like to see you within the range suggested to the right-hand side or above. Now the way we increase our bone mineral content is through resistance training. So if you're lifting weights, your muscles are getting bigger and stronger. They're pulling on the bones, so the bones need to lay down more strength, more bone mineral, and get stronger. So that's how you can increase your bone mineral content through weight training. So you will find that if you have a high amount of skeletal muscle mass, there's a good chance your bone mineral content will be quite high as well. Next one down is the body cell mass. Now this includes your muscle, organ, intracellular and extracellular water and bone tissue. And it's a good indicator as to how good your nutritional levels are. So all we're looking for is to be within or above the range suggested to the right hand side there. Next one down is your arm circumference. Now this is taken from your left arm when you are holding your arm out to the side in your scanning position. The arm muscle circumference means just the actual muscle belly in your upper arm. So the biceps and triceps, exclusive of your bone and body fat in the upper arm. So it's an indicator as to how much fat may be present in the upper arm as well. Lastly, down the bottom left-hand side, you have your body composition history. Now this shows your weight, skeletal muscle mass, percent body fat, and extracellular water ratio, and it will plot the changes over time. So as you have your scans done, you'll see a little line graph start to appear with each successive test you have performed, and you can see how well you're progressing. So there you go, I hope you've learnt something. So if you have any questions, please email me. My email address is below this video. And there's also a link to the InBody Australia website if you'd like to find out more about the InBody scanner and how it can help you plot and monitor your training progress. Good luck with it.